At this point, we understand what transformational change is, how board members should support that change as either the authorising sponsor or as the reinforcing sponsor, and the importance of governance for any transformational change to be a success. This session is going to discuss the role of board members in the initial definition of the change, but I'm using the term definition loosely. As I mentioned in our first session, the challenge with any transformational change is that it's difficult to clearly and fully define at the outset. But as board members, and particularly if you're the authorising or project sponsor, it's essential that there's a clearly defined and documented vision for the transformation. A vision is a vivid mental image of what you want the desired future state to be, based on the business goals and aspirations. Having a vision will give the change project a clear focus and can stop you heading in the wrong direction. But for that vision to be realised, it must fit with the overall business strategy and align with the discrete strategic plans that each area has. A change project, however large or small, and particularly when it's a transformational change, cannot work in isolation. And part of the role of the board is to consider the big picture and ensure that all the change activities are considered holistically. I've met companies who have had a number of change projects happening simultaneously that contradict one another, and this never ends well for those projects or for the business. This is a key area to be mindful of, ensuring that the change has clearly articulated vision that aligns with the strategic direction of the business and is supported by other activities and projects. Once that vision has been clearly articulated in a way that can be shared across the organisation, the next logical step is to put a plan of action in place to deliver that vision. But I'd recommend that before a plan is created, the desired outcomes are defined. These are often different to deliverables or milestones, as the outcomes capture the changes that are expected as a result of the transformational change project. They act as markers for the change during the change project and beyond, and should include some behavioural as well as business elements. What do I mean by this? A simple example would be to think about leadership training. Is the desired outcome for everyone to learn more about leadership theory, or to have an enjoyable few days of training? Or is the outcome having a repeatable, well-written training program? Or is the outcome that the participants change their behaviours and become better leaders as a result of attending the training? It could be all of these, in which case you would design a training program rather than a set of lectures. Another example would be gaining or retaining the ISO 9001 quality standard. You can approach this in different ways. One desired outcome would be a certificate on the wall. A second could be building customer confidence in the company's approach to quality. But I would suggest that there are other outcomes, including all staff understanding and following the processes being fit for purpose and adding value to the end result, and maybe process adherence as part of the company culture. Again, the outcomes you define will inform the approach, project plan, and therefore the end result. Members of the board can help to articulate these outcomes and support the team who are responsible for implementing the changes and also delivering the desired outcomes. This can be done as part of governance, which we mentioned in session 2. In my experience, for transformational change to be a success, the change plan will need to be regularly reviewed and amended where necessary in order to deliver those outcomes. The unsaid assumption is that both the vision and the outcomes are articulated in such a way that they can be communicated with those involved with delivering the change, and can also be used as part of a wider communications and engagement plan to ensure that the end vision and outcomes are shared with the wider business. As board members, you need to ensure that communications and engagement around the change are planned and happen in a timely manner through the whole life of the project, not just at the start or when people remember. That doesn't mean that you'll be delivering all the different messages in person, but it's vital that you realise the importance of communications as an integral part of any transformational change. I mentioned in the second session that you need to ensure there's a budget for change activities. Communications and engagement play a central role in building buy-in and delivering transformational change, but they do require time and effort, which needs to be budgeted for and planned for from the start. Please don't fall into the trap of hoping that communications will just happen, as their importance for a successful change cannot be overemphasised. And be aware that there will be times when you need to personally deliver some of the key messages, either as a board member or as a sponsor of the change. One of the differences that COVID has brought is that previously employees within the business may have not understood why change is required, whereas now most individuals understand the compelling imperative for change brought about by the pandemic. However, the language used to engage with the workforce will need to reflect the culture and aspirations of each individual business. This is the last key area to be mindful of, the importance of communications and engagement throughout the change process.